Okay. So what we're going to do, and instead of actually going through the process of like how to use sine law and cosine law, we're going to distinguish when to use them, and then maybe just a brief overview of a quick way how to solve it. Okay. So essentially, we're comparing two different laws here, sine law versus cos law, or cosine law, whatever you want to call it. And essentially, what they're doing is they let you find angles or sides of a triangle, and these laws can be used for both scalene, equilateral, isosceles. I don't know if you remember the differences between all of those. There's I'll give you a couple here. So you could have isosceles is where they're all equilaterals are all the same. Isosceles is two are the same. Scalene is kind of everything's different. You can even use them for right angle triangles. Okay, now I know you would have possibly learned SOHCAHTOA before.
Yeah.
Right, SOHCAHTOA is just shortcuts for only that type of triangle. Okay, so when you're working with SOHCAHTOA, it seems like you're solving so many, but it's actually like a really small subset of triangles. They have to be right angle. Anything else, SOHCAHTOA doesn't work, and that's where you get these two laws. There's actually a tangent law too, but you don't need it. As long as you have these two, you can solve everything there is to know, and tangent is actually more difficult, so it's best to just stick with these ones. Okay, so with that being said, let's... Oops, I want to just open another... Excuse me. 101 plus. That's the button. Thank you. Couldn't find it. Okay, so let's say we have a triangle. Now, what's interesting about triangles is you can create impossible triangles. So we're going to kind of just use... little abstract ideas. Now, this might be a little tough, but I'm going to say that I have this side and this angle, and I'm going to say I also have this side. So this is all of the information we have, okay? Everything else is an unknown. So this side is unknown, this angle is unknown, and this angle is unknown. So we have to decide which of the laws to use. Now they'll have shown you like little things like SAS and SSA and ways to do it. But it's a lot to memorize. If we can actually just put the information in into the two laws, by looking at it, you can decide which one is best. Okay. So we'll start with our sine law. So sine A over A equals sine B. I'm gonna give myself a lot of room here. Sine C over B, okay? And the other one I'm going to say is C squared, okay? And I'm using this one specifically, and we'll talk about why. 2AB.
Because don't you bring it over after?
It doesn't actually matter. We could call C, we could call that A. What we're going to do is we're going to learn to associate triangles using like specifically the letter C, okay? So let's start with this. I've called things A and B, which are kind of helpful for what we're doing, but it might get tricky. We might need cosine law for this one. So let's just, what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill out in color the letters we have. So I have sine and I have angle A. You'll notice I put an A for that angle there, okay? And I also have side A. So whatever you call angle A, you must call the opposite side side A. Which means if this is side B, this here,
angle B.
Exactly. And that leaves us with just the letter C, right? So C is kind of like our unknowns at the moment. So we have side A, wonderful. And we happen to have sine B. We don't have angle B. That's one of our unknowns. But we do have side B, okay? And it turns out we have nothing for side C, so I don't even need to include that in the ratio. I'm not even going to bring that part down. And that's what's going to happen every time. You're going to find one of the two ratios that you don't need, and you can just drop it off, okay? So this is really good. In fact, this may be the one we use because we only have one missing piece of information. In mathematics, if you have an equation and you have one variable or just one piece of missing information, with one equation you can solve it. If you have two missing variables, you need at least two equations to solve it, which means we only have one and one. We wouldn't be able to solve anything if we had two missing variables. So this one we have 1, 2, 3 of 4. We have, so we're only missing one piece, so this equation is going to work. We'll write it into cosine to see what it is that we're missing. So whether you decide to call this A and this A, or you call it B and B, or C and C, it doesn't really matter. But the way we set up the triangle is whatever we're trying to solve, okay, whatever we're trying to solve, we're going to call that side C. We're going to rename our triangles. You can rename a triangle any way you want, no matter what the diagram says. So our diagram here, I've actually called this A and B. We're going to say, no, we're actually solving for a specific side. So in this scenario, we're going to solve for angle B. We're going to say that's the goal right now. And we've already figured out that sine law works great, but why wouldn't cosine law work for this? That's what we have to figure out here, okay? So this angle here, this variable is the angle, and this variable is the side, okay? So this part's going to be a little confusing. I'm going to rename these. I'm going to call this C and this C. And that way I don't have to figure out how to rewrite this entire equation. Technically, what I would need to do if I was finding side B, I'd have to call the equation something like this. B squared equals A squared minus C squared, plus C squared minus 2AC, and then cos side B. And there's 3 different versions. We're not going to try to memorize that. Instead, it's just easier to rename triangles, okay? So we're going to call that side C, and the other stuff we can leave. We can call that A. So side C is what we're missing. Great. So we're going to say we're missing side C here. So if we're missing side C, that means we need to have everything else in this equation. All of these variables we need to have in order to solve side C.
Right.
Okay, so let's plug in what we had. Remember, I colored them what we had. Sorry, I keep saying side. This is angle. This has now been called side C, so we do have side C. We have C squared is equal to, and yeah, we have side A. That's really good. Now that we rename this, what would this side and this angle be called? What do you think? If we've used A and we've used C, we're going to rename this triangle.
D.
Yeah, we could call it D, or in this case, because we already have the variables
B.
we'll just use B, okay? So now, we're going to do a little erasing here. This is no longer B. We're going to call this stuff B, okay? So here's B, capital for the angle and lowercase for the side. And right away, look, we get here. I don't have side B. I'm going to keep it in black here. That means it's an unknown. So that's actually no good for us because we go 2A, B, cos. So I know we did it very abstractly. We're missing this information. We can't use cosine law. We just don't have enough information, okay? So let's steal a little question out of your textbook here just to do it. We're not going to solve it. All we're going to do is figure out which of the formulas we would use to do this, okay? So let's pull another one out. You got a triangle here. Great. It's a right angle triangle. We're going to solve it anyways, okay? So we got a right angle triangle here, and they've told us that this is 43, I think they said units. They don't even tell us what it is, right? Yeah. No. And then this angle here is 39 degrees. Wonderful. Great. I'm going to start with cosine law. Okay, so they've given us no letters, right? They haven't called anything A, B, or C. So we're going to go about naming it. So let's start with our cosine law that I've memorized here. So I have C squared is equal to A squared plus B squared minus 2AB cos C. And remember, does it tell us what they want us to say? For each triangle, describe how you would solve for the unknown side or angle. So in this one, they wanted us to find that side there. So since that's the goal, for cosine law, we're going to call that the C side. Okay, so this becomes C, which means this angle is C. Okay, the rest of it doesn't really matter. So let's just go with, this will be angle A now, which makes this side A, and this will be angle B, which makes this side B. Okay, we're going to name the triangle every time for our, kind of to our advantage. So side C is unknown, so I'm going to leave it in black here. And angle C we do know. Side A is unknown. I should leave it black, sorry, to be consistent. Side A, we don't know, right? Gave us no information. Side B we do know. It's 43. 43 squared minus 2. Side A, still don't know. This is still side B, so it's times 43. Think of each of those things having brackets around them. And this is technically times. Cos, angle C was 39 degrees, so we did have that. Wonderful. So let's take a look at all the information we had. That's what's really important here. So we had angle C, and we're solving for side C. That worked out great. We had side B. We didn't have side A. So because we're missing that information, this is no good to us. We can't use this side. So let's try sine law. We go back in. Sine A over A equals sine B over B equals sine C over C. Okay? We already named the triangle. What's neat about sine law, it doesn't matter how we name it. It's cosine because we only want to memorize one version. We're really focused on the letter C. So for this one, let's just plug in what we got. Angle A, do we have angle A?
No.
No, so we'll just call it A. Side A, do we have?
No.
No, that's unknown. Equals angle B. We do have angle B. It's 90 degrees. All right. Side B, we got, that's 43. Great. That's the really important one. In sine law, you have to have at least one complete ratio.
Yeah.
So that's great. We have one of the complete ratios. This is wonderful. And then finally,
Hi, Daddy.
hi, honey. We have sine C.
39.
Sine C, yep, 39. Good. Over, and side C was our X. We're going to call it, I guess I'll write it in as in green here. That's our X.
Okay.
So this is great. This one would drop off,
Alyssa,
and we
when
know
you
now
come in?
to use that one, okay? So let's complete that now. So we'll finish this up. We'll do that on our own off video.